I was 27 when I took the fire lookout job. It was supposed to be peaceful. 4 weeks in a tower deep in the forest, just me, a radio, and a pair of binoculars. The nearest road was 8 miles away, and the only way in was by ATV or helicopter. They trained me for 2 days. Watch for smoke, log the weather, report any movement. Simple. I was excited at first, until night fell on my second day. The wind that night was quiet. Too quiet. I was eating instant noodles and writing in my journal when I heard it. A soft thud on the wood, like a boot on a step. The tower is 40 feet up with a spiral staircase wrapped around the outside. I stood still and listened. Another step. I killed the lantern and peered out the window. It was dark, darker than I thought possible. But my eyes adjusted, and that's when I realized that someone was here with me. Someone was watching me. In a split second, I saw the blurry shape of a man halfway up the stairs. He wasn't moving, just standing there looking up at the tower. I couldn't make out a face, no flashlight, no gear, just him. I radioed my manager Harris at the headquarters, whispering, and my heart thumping fast. No answer. I reached for the flare gun, my only weapon, and pointed it at the door. I was even more frightened when I was unable to reach anyone at the office. I didn't sleep that night. When the sun rose, I went down. Carefully, each step creaked like a scream. But there was no one there. I thought maybe I imagined it. Sleep deprivation, paranoia. The following evening I saw it. Again. The same blurry image standing steady, looking up. This time the image didn't move. Then in a split second it made what seemed like a forward move, like it was now coming towards me. Then it vanished. Just like that. I hurriedly radioed the office again. Still nothing. I told myself I'd leave the next morning. But that night, somewhere around midnight, I heard the footsteps again. This time the footsteps were faster, harder, and probably angrier. Like someone didn't want me to be here. I stayed hidden behind a supply chest, flare gun loaded, waiting for the person trailing me to try the door. But he never did. He just circled the tower, all night. At dawn, I found a small knife next to the tower's climbing staircase. Beside the knife, there were 2 noticeable blood drops. The knife and the blood elevated my fear. It was clear now that my life was in danger. I couldn't work here anymore. I didn't care about protocol anymore. I packed what I could and radioed for an immediate evacuation. Again, nothing. No static. Just silence. This was really weird now. I thought about walking the 8 miles out, but something told me I wouldn't make it. That night I waited in the dark. No lantern, no fire, just me, crouched in a corner. Everything was normal until around 4 a.m. in the morning. Out of nowhere, I heard a loud bang outside, like someone had dropped a heavy bag filled with stuff. Then the door. It creaked open. I had locked it. I know I locked it. He was inside. I couldn't see him, but I could hear him breathing. Slow, heavy. I fired the flare gun into the room, and in the blink of an eye, I saw his image. A dark, eerie shadow of a man in dirty clothes, his face caked in soot, eyes wide open like someone looking for something in the dark. He didn't even flinch. He just lifted his right arm and did what seemed like pointing his first finger to me, warning me. Then he disappeared. All this happened so fast. I felt an adrenaline rush through my system. I jumped out of the tower window. I didn't even think. I hit several branches on my way down. I almost dislocated my shoulder and sustained several bruises in my leg. but I ran fast without looking back. Even worse, I was now lost in the thick forest, in the middle of nowhere, all alone. I regretted the decision of taking this job. I was really terrified. I remember telling myself that this will not end well. After walking for miles and in the dark, I found the first sign of civilization. An old house at the edge of the forest. It was now around 6 a.m. in the morning. Although it was not daybreak yet, I could see an elderly couple outside the house clearing the bush. For once, I felt relieved, but still terrified, shaken, and in huge disbelief. I fell into their arms, literally. They told me that the whole area had been disconnected from electricity for 2 days following a lightning strike. This kind of explained why I was unable to contact anyone from the office. "And the tower?" I asked curiously. "Nobody gets anywhere close to the tower these days." The disappearance of a young watchman without a trace took a huge toll on all of us in this community. "I hope you didn't get close to it," they added. Was I tricked into this job? Was someone messing around with me here? I had many unanswered questions as I went back home. The next day, I called Harris. No answer. I was highly convinced that they knew what they were getting me into when they signed me up for the job. The tower was probably haunted or something. I never called them again. It was a Friday evening, around 7:30, and the three of us had just wrapped up a casual dinner at my place. Jay brought wings, Nelson had beer, and we were mostly talking trash about fantasy football. Nothing special, just chillin'. As the night went on, we got that itch to go for a walk. Not like a let's go hiking kind of walk, more like let's stretch our legs and sneak a joint in the woods. We weren't even thinking about the time. It wasn't pitch black yet, but the sun had dipped below the trees, and the Greenbelt Trail behind my neighborhood was starting to fade into shadow. We'd been there a million times before. The loop was maybe a mile and a half, mostly dirt trail, surrounded by tall grass, scattered trees, and brush so thick on the sides you couldn't see more than a few feet in. Totally normal. At first, about 10 minutes into the walk, we started hearing these faint snapping sounds, like twigs, footsteps, maybe. I remember Jay stopping mid-sentence and going, "Hey, did you hear that?" We paused, listened, nothing. Nelson laughed it off, he's always the skeptic, and said it was probably a raccoon or something. So we kept walking, but now we were a little quieter. The air felt heavier. The bugs had all gone silent, which I didn't even notice until later. Then I looked behind us. I don't know why, but I just did. And in the gap between the trees, maybe 30 or 40 feet back, there was someone standing there. Not moving, just watching us. I stopped. My stomach dropped. I said, "Guys, there's someone back there." They turned, and the figure ducked into the brush. We stood frozen. Nelson goes, "That's just someone else on the trail." But even he didn't sound convinced. It's a weekday. It's getting dark. No one just stands there like that. Jay, trying to keep it light, called out, "Yo, you good?" No answer, just silence. We picked up the pace a little, and I swear for the next 5 minutes we heard faint footsteps trailing us, sometimes close, sometimes far, but always there. That's when Nelson said, "Let's just cut through the fire road and head back to your place." It was a shortcut we'd used before, about half a mile of gravel path that connects back to my block. We turned onto it, walking faster now, less laughing, no talking. Halfway down the path, we passed this clearing with a couple of rusted-out barrels and a fallen tree. Then we heard this weary chuckle that came from a far distance across the tall trees. The air went cold. Almost instantly, we heard another chuckle. This time it was soft from the trees behind us. Not a playful laughter. It was dry, like whoever was laughing wasn't doing it because something was funny. They just wanted to be heard. We started running. All three of us, full-on sprinting, gravel crunching under our feet, branches snapping behind us. We didn't stop until we hit the edge of my street and crossed through my backyard, slamming the gate shut behind us. Heart pounding, breathing hard. But we made it back. For a second, it felt over, but still the air felt heavy, threatening. We stood there waiting to hear the chuckle again. This time, nothing. For the next few hours, I had many disturbing thoughts. Did I just become a victim of these horror stories I see on the movies? Was someone actually after us? After me? I had a hard time sleeping that night. Next morning, I checked the compound to see whether there was anything unusual. Nothing. But I just couldn't forget those two chuckles. It's like nothing I had heard before. A frightening chuckle coupled with fear, intimidation, and uncertainty. To this day, I haven't been back to the Greenbelt since. And even now, when I walk through my neighborhood at dusk, I swear I still feel it. That sense that someone's just a little too close. Someone is following me, stalking me. I strongly believe that someone followed us that evening. And I worry that they could be following me even today. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I run every morning. I'm one of those weirdos who's up before the sun, mostly for peace and quiet. My neighborhood's just outside of town, near the base of a forest preserve. It's quiet, safe, and familiar. I've been running the same 3-mile loop for over a year. It starts on pavement, but cuts through a paved trail that dips into the trees for a bit. A section that gets overgrown in the warmer months. It's maybe a 1/4 mile long. Locals just call it the tunnel because of the way the trees close in overhead. I've never been scared of it. If anything, I liked it. That little pocket of cool air and birdsong in the morning. But this happened maybe 3 months ago, and I haven't run since. That morning started like any other. It was barely light out, 5:40-ish. Sky still navy blue. I had my headphones in, hoodie on, nothing out of the ordinary. As I got close to the wooded stretch, I noticed a weird shape near the entrance. At first, I thought it was a trash bag, but as I got closer, I saw it was a bundle of clothes, folded, just sitting in the middle of the trail. Men's jeans, a red t-shirt, no shoes, neatly stacked. No note, no backpack nearby, just clothes. They looked clean, not tossed or dirty. I stopped, pulled out my earbuds, and listened. Nothing. Just the usual birds, wind in the trees. I stepped around it slowly, kind of waiting to hear someone shout from the woods, like a prank or something. But the woods were completely still. Then, maybe 30 feet ahead, I saw another pile of clothes. Same thing, different set. This time a dark blue hoodie and cargo shorts. Same spot, right in the middle of the trail. Neatly placed. That's when the hair on my arms went up. This wasn't trash, it wasn't a coincidence. This was deliberate. I started to backpedal. Then I heard it, a rustling, off the trail, in the trees, maybe 20 feet to my left. Heavy, like someone shifting their weight. but I couldn't see anything. I didn't run. Not yet. I just stood still, frozen. Then I called out, "Hello?" Nothing. Just that same rustling, now behind me. Then this part makes my stomach turn. I heard a whisper. Not loud, not angry, just a whisper. "Hold me." That's it. One word, software, way too close. "What? Who is this?" I asked curiously, but frightened. "Hello? Someone here?" Nothing. The voice was gone. But then the air surrounding me became really dumpy, heavy, and cold. It's like someone was standing right there behind me. I tensed. I couldn't wait. I took off, sprinting hard back the way I came. I didn't stop or look back until I hit the sidewalk near my block, completely winded. I turned back once, just once. There was nothing behind me, nothing visible. What just happened here? Did someone just told me to hold them? But I never shook the feeling that someone followed me all the way back. I didn't narrate my ordeal to anyone. What would I say? That someone left clothes on a trail and whispered at me? I walked back the next day with a friend just to prove it was nothing. But the clothes were gone. Not a single thing out of place. Even the dirt on the trail looked like no one had stepped there in days. I've avoided that stretch ever since. I run at the gym now. Treadmill, indoors, controlled. And every time I think about that voice, I remember how gentle it was. Not threatening, not loud, just soft, like it had been waiting for someone for a long time. It was just me, my mom, and my dad. We hadn't done a trip like this in a while, just the three of us. My dad had rented this small rustic cabin about 2 hours outside the city, right near a nature preserve. No Wi-Fi, no cell service unless you walked half a mile uphill. The place was meant to be unplugged. The first day was calm. We unpacked, went for a little walk, and grilled dinner on the deck. Just trees in every direction. No neighbors, just the occasional crunch of branches from squirrels or deer. That night, we played cards by lantern light. I remember my mom joking that it felt like we were in a horror movie. We laughed it off. We went to sleep. Everything was normal. Until the second night. The second night, something changed. We were eating dinner again on the deck. The sun had just dipped low, casting long shadows through the trees. I got this weird feeling, like we were being watched. Not the paranoid in the woods feeling, but something heavier. A tension you could feel in your skin. Then my mom asked, "Did you hear that?" We paused. There was a rustling sound in the trees, maybe 30 feet away. My dad stood up, peering towards the woods. Nothing, but I saw it. A glint, like the reflection off an eye, just for a second. I asked my dad if we should check it out. He said it was probably a deer and brushed it off. But for the rest of the evening, none of us really relaxed. Around midnight, I woke up to footsteps. Soft, slow ones, right outside the cabin. I stayed completely still, listening. They circled the cabin, once, then twice. Crunch, pause, crunch. I tiptoed to the front window and parted the curtain just a sliver. And out of nowhere, there was a man, standing maybe 10 feet from the cabin, right at the tree line. He was just standing there. Not moving, not looking around, just staring toward the cabin. He was wearing dark clothes, and something about him looked off, like he didn't belong out there. No backpack, no flashlight, no reason to be there. I backed away slowly and woke my dad. He came over, looked out the same window, and cursed under his breath. When he looked again, the man was gone. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. My dad stayed up with the fireplace poker. I had a kitchen knife. My mom just sat quietly with the cordless phone, even though it had no signal. The next morning, when we opened the door to check outside, there, footstep marks all around the cabin. They don't want you here. That's the first thought that came into my mind. My dad wanted to pack up right then. But we had already paid for the weekend, and, I believe, a part of him didn't want to be bullied by whoever was messing with us. So, we stayed. One more night. That evening, the air felt thick. Every shadow between the trees looked wrong. At least this is how it felt for me. We triple-checked the doors and windows, closed the blinds, tried to act normal, but around 10:45 p.m., the power cut out. No wind, no storm, just click, total darkness. My dad got the flashlight and went to check the fuse box outside. He was gone maybe 3 minutes. When he came back, he was pale. "I didn't touch anything," he said, "but the lights came back on right before I opened the box." Then a total blackout. Again. "That's it," my dad said angrily. "We have to move out. We're not alone in here, and we just can't wait to see last night's horrors," he added, looking terrified. We packed immediately, threw everything into the car and left before midnight. Didn't bother cleaning. Didn't turn off lights. We just left. About a mile down the gravel road, we passed the trailhead for the nature preserve. Standing at the trail's entrance, in the beam of the headlights, was a man. Same building, same clothes. He didn't move, didn't try to stop us. When my dad talked to the cabin owner later, he confirmed that we were the only family checked in around that area. No one else was supposed to be there. But at least based on what we saw, there was a man watching us back at the cabin. Now, whenever my dad talks about going back into the woods, my mom and I just look at each other. I am especially disturbed by the thought of going back to the woods because I have seen many similar horrifying cases in movies and TV series. The only difference this time was that I experienced it firsthand. Like I really saw someone watching our cabin that night. No doubt. Just the other day I was thinking, this man didn't just find us by accident. Maybe he was there already when we checked in. Did he intend to do us harm? Could he pose danger to future visitors? It seems I will never find answers to these questions. I'm not the kind of guy who believes in weird stuff or anything paranormal. I'm a hiking junkie, been to nearly every state park on the West Coast. But something happened last October that changed how I feel about being alone in the woods. I took a solo trip to a remote trail up in the Three Sisters Wilderness in Oregon. I'd done it once before, but this time I wanted to go deeper. Off-trail, just me, my gear, and the quiet. I was planning a 3-day hike with no cell service and zero chance of running into other people. The first day went fine. I hiked about 12 miles in, set up camp near a cluster of thick pine trees, and lit a small fire before it got too dark. It was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where you start to hear your own blood pulsing in your ears. Around midnight, I heard what I thought was a deer walking past my tent. Heavy, deliberate steps. I froze, but it wasn't moving like a deer. It would take a few steps, stop, then circle. I laid still, heart pounding, hand on my knife. Then I heard it mimic something. Something that sounded like my own voice, but twisted, like it was repeating something
Later.
I had said
Early.
earlier while setting
Painful.
up camp. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid there trying to convince myself it was just some animal with a weird vocal pattern. But the next morning I found footprints. Not boot prints, bare feet. Big, calloused, and wide. The skin was cracked like it had never touched a shoe. I thought about turning back, but part of me, the dumb, stubborn part, wanted to prove to myself I wasn't scared. So I hiked on. By the second night, the forest changed. Birds stopped chirping. The wind didn't feel natural, it was warm and thick, like something breathing on the back of your neck. I set up camp faster than I ever had, paranoid the whole time. That night I heard it again. It was laughing, but not like a person. More like a mockery of laughter, glitchy like a broken voice box. At one point, I stepped away from the fire to grab my food bag that I had hung from a branch. When I looked back at camp, there was something sitting by the fire. It looked like a person, but its limbs were too long, too thin, and it was completely naked, skin pale like wax. I stood there, frozen, watching it rock back and forth. Then it turned its head toward me, but didn't stand. It just crawled away into the trees, moving fast on all fours like a spider. I didn't sleep. I didn't even pack up in the morning. I just ran. Didn't stop until I got back to my car, out of breath, covered in cuts and bruises from branches. I reported what I saw to a ranger. He didn't even blink. Just said, "That part of the forest isn't on our maps anymore." I could no longer proceed with my hiking adventure. The thought of being there in the mountains all alone was just too terrifying.